All right, what's up, everybody?
We're back again, answering your questions.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. We always get together. There's so many things to discuss, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you posted a question just the other day saying, like, what are some things that maybe you guys would be interested in learning about? And so we're going to go over some of those questions today.
Yeah, so a common one for this time of year, allergies.
Yeah.
Many people are already asking me in the last week, what should I do for my allergies? I'm feeling not like myself. I know I'm not sick, but I feel like I'm sick.
Totally. Well, and it's funny because especially with all this stuff going on with the immune system sort of crisis right now, it's going to be a little difficult to know what's what, right? What's an allergy, what's a flu. And so why don't we just sort of break down what are some typical things, right? Yeah. So allergies might be, scratchiness in the throat, constant running in nose or rhinitis, could be postnasal drip, it could be like feeling a little puffy
itchy
and
eyes,
swollen, itchy eyes, itchiness in general, could just be feeling like kind of lethargic and
slightly slower.
Totally. And even, at the level of exercise, you could also feel like, it could almost feel a bit like a flu because your recovery, your energy, your endurance may not be where it should be, right?
So what are some things that people can do to help with their allergies?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things that we always tell people is that, your immune system is really your lymphatic system and it's the health of your digestive system. Right. So what we find is that often when people are constantly consuming a regular food sensitivity, they're more likely to have their seasonal allergies. It's just because it's more stress on your immune system,
that makes
right?
sense.
So, let's go over the common food sensitivity. So, it's dairy, wheat and gluten, certain nuts and seeds, some meats, like seafood, for example, some fruits.
Right.
Sometimes the soy, rice can sometimes be one, but eggs, dairy, wheat, gluten are the typical common ones. And what about just movement-wise? Like, what do you tell people when they are dealing with allergies? What's the recommendation?
So typically, if you just move, you usually feel a little bit better. I know, let's say you feel like your allergies are coming on, you're in the house, you're on the couch, you're laying down, it feels terrible. Yeah. You get out, get some fresh air. I know it sounds counterproductive. You actually start feeling better. I notice when my allergies come on after about an hour of walking outdoors with some vitamin D, or even if the weather's not nice, if I'm in the treadmill inside, still just moving, and it doesn't have to be fast, just moving a little bit and trying to sweat just a little bit.
Yeah.
Really makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah. Well, and part of that is, our lymphatic system is sitting in channels that require movement in order to pump them, right? So if you're not contracting muscles, moving, getting a bit of a sweat going to actually create that momentum, you're gonna stay in this stagnation place, which is gonna perpetuate more of the chronic stimulus for the immune system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's just definitely other things. Avoidance. How can you can't really, you live in the city, you can't really avoid
you're right.
the pollen, right? So there's lots of important things to do. Movement's definitely one of those. Yeah. Right?
Well, if you know other things that are that slow you down a little bit, don't do those things right now maybe.
Yeah,
again, if you already know you're allergic to something else, but it doesn't bother you that much.
Yeah.
Maybe stop that right now.
Yeah.
Maybe if you love alcohol, maybe just consume a little bit less right now.
Totally.
Anything that will help you repair faster.
Yeah. Well, and on that note too, we know that sugar is totally tied to stressing your immune system and shutting things down. So the more sugar you consume, the more likely those allergies are going to be more aggressive. And you brought up a really good point. A lot of us tend to be weekend warriors. We work hard during the week and play on the weekends. Yeah. And you're trying to get through recovery during the week, and your allergies are gonna definitely ramp up, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of it. So, like we said, you can't really avoid the pollen, but you can definitely change your lifestyle strategies to support when that season comes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now other things outside of that. As far as limiting exposure, look at how you're sleeping at night. Yeah. Just that main recovery time to help support a natural circadian rhythm, setting up your natural circadian clock and going to bed on time and having proper sleep rhythms is part and parcel to helping to dampen some of the stress that allergies would also cause in the body.
Yeah. So typically, I guess, the healthier your body is, the less response you'll have to those allergies. You'll still be allergic, but you just won't feel those symptoms as much.
It's not going to be as aggressive. Yeah. Now, there's some really great therapeutics, so supplements and things like that can be helpful. One of the ones that we look to often is just helping that lymphatic system move, and so there's certain homeopathic drainage remedies that they're called that help to flush and basically get movement in the body. There's also specific homeopathic remedies that are for helping to support your immune system so that the reactivity towards pollen or whatever that may be is lowered.
Right.
And lots of different companies make different types of allergy type prevention tools. But the idea is that you want to sort of prepare yourself leading in,
Yeah.
and not just be, because we live in a culture of like jump on something only when the symptoms arise.
Yeah.
This is really about being proactive,
Right.
right, with a lot of these things.
So if somebody is saying their symptoms are here already, should they still try this, or is it too
Totally.
late?
Yeah, you should still try it. Ideally, it's sort of knowing our body, knowing the biorhythms of our seasons.
Yeah.
So if we know that, March, April, May, we're more likely to experience that, well, it's time to, maybe start preparing the month before.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Now, there's other great things too. You mentioned vitamin D, vitamin C, quercetin. These are all things that help to basically support the immune system and help to dampen some of the histamine response that gets increased during these allergic exposures. So those some great tools. There's lots more there, but basically just knowing that you can incorporate a few basic supplements that really are specific towards allergies is a great help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about if they have extra resources they can go to, like a clinic like yourself? I notice you have red light therapy machines.
Totally. Yeah.
You have the infrared sauna.
Yeah.
The extreme temperature changes, like you mentioned in some of your videos. The extreme cold showers. Can some of those things help?
Totally.
them?
Well, we talk about this a lot about what's your cellular environment like, right?
Right.
So if your cellular environment is, constantly exposed to sugar, the alcohol on the weekends, high food sensitivity foods or high inflammatory foods, these therapies are going to have some effect, but really it's about creating a whole environment so that your body has more resiliency. So yeah, red light can be great for hormone stimulation, for calming down inflammation, getting us in touch with that circadian rhythm.
Right.
Sauna's, amazing for just that adaptation to temperature variation, which massively increases immune function.
Right.
And then things like, hyperbaric therapy, amazing for helping increase oxygenation in the body. That's not a great tool to use, however, if you're in the middle of like sinus congestion crisis, right? So because it's going to increase pressure. So these are things that you want to be more proactive or preventative with. Yeah. So there's a time and place for these biohacking tools, right? Yeah.
So what about other things? Like lots of people are asking me about, I won't try to mention any name brands of stuff that you can get just at the pharmacy. What would you say to that?
Like you mean like antihistamine type therapies? Yeah, here's the thing. My brother grew up with chronic allergies, and that was always his go-to. For some people, when they're not working on cellular environments and things like that, sometimes antihistamines can be their only, is their only choice.
Right.
There's some great herbal counterparts or something, a company called, what's the name of the company? The name of the product is called D-Hist, which tends to be a direct replacement for some of these allergy meds. And the point is again, being proactive and then substituting. Try it one day, or increase your quercetin, vitamin C, and some of the other things, or try this D-Hist as a way to offset the need for maybe lowering the amount of antihistamines that you may need. But I think looking at the underlying picture is super important for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the good thing is never too late, because allergy season always keeps happening. So now that you know these tips, even if you're like, oh, it's too late for me right now, it still isn't too late, because again, we just said it goes all the way till May, and then new allergies, and then new. So know your own body, and try to remember on a calendar when it's typically the worst for you. And if you could be like, okay, maybe 6 weeks before, if you looked at any of these preventative products,
start building
it up and start doing a little bit more for yourself. Go for a little bit longer walk today. Go for instead of a 10-minute walk, go 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Little things. It doesn't have to be extremes.
Totally. And on that note too, it's like, thinking of an exercise plan, best to start proactively as well. Like it's part of the prevention strategies to get that lymphatic system moving, get your body adapted to, increasing intensity of exercise, so that when your allergy season does come, you've got a stronger, more resilient body, right? And then you're not like, well, I can't go to the gym now because, I'm too messed up with these allergies, right?
Yeah.
So you do want to be proactive with that.
Yeah, you do want to be proactive, and it does help a lot over time. It's not magic, where everybody's looking for something that's magic. But over the years, if you keep doing these things, it really adds up. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, allergy seasons for me now, and I know you can grow in and out of allergies,
Yeah.
are way different than when I was a kid.
Totally.
Like before, I used to also have like 3 inhalers, all the different, every brand you could.
Yeah.
And then all those medications, when I'd go to sleepovers, I'd have like a big baggie of medication and stuff to take. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And now, if I feel like, I just feel slightly a little bit more tired than usual. Like usually I spring out of bed, I'm like, oh great, it's morning.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
That's a great way
oh,
to
it's
describe
morning.
that.
And I'm like, okay, what I need to do is go to the gym. I check all my emails, I'm on the treadmill, I'm just going. And then after that hour, I'm like, oh, I feel amazing now.
Yeah. I love that story. I mean, I grew up too on different medications, asthma medication, all that stuff. I was definitely more prone to allergies as a kid as I am now. And I love hearing the story of that you don't have to just be healthy when you're younger. Like you can actually be in a new place of your healthiest version of who you are at 40 or, you know, or, and beyond. So, I'm 40, you're not quite 40 yet, so I'm not plugging that into you. But that's the reality, is that we can experience greater health now than when we did when we were kids, right?
Well, and we know a little bit more, so like why can't we be a little bit better every day as we learn and as we grow and as we educate ourselves? It's easy, meaning we're actually capable of doing it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you got the tools, you got the resources, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the adrenal glands. A lot of people may or may not understand that adrenal health, like your stress response, your adaptability to your environment, is totally tied to your immune system and definitely to allergies as well. So, we talked about the weekend warrior. Let's talk about overtraining a little bit. But how all these things tie into like stressing out your adrenal glands?
Yeah. So I've witnessed with myself, family, and clients, when you are at max capacity for stress and you can't handle anymore, eventually your body will say, stop. You need to stop and rest. It will throw something at you. You'll either get sick or something, you're burnt out.
Or even like an injury, right?
Yeah, our bodies are super smart. They'll try to get us to stop what we're doing way ahead, but we don't listen to it.
Yeah.
and then eventually when we can't get out of bed one day, then we're like, oh.
Yeah, it's time to listen.
Yeah, it's time to listen. Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to have a huge effect on your ability to recover, and this chronic state of stress is constantly releasing that cortisol, which is suppressing our immune system. And so when you're constantly in that fight or flight state, cortisol is constantly suppressing, you're not really able to process your environment, the immune stressors that are around you, and eventually you become more and more prone to allergies. I mean, I can't tell you how many people develop allergies even later on in life, and they never had them before, and it's often because of this mechanism.
Yeah, and most people are walking around super stressed out to the max. Like, they're just trying to get through the day instead of like, oh, I get to get through this day. Like, I have to try to,
how you said when you wake up in the morning, yes, it's morning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
Versus like sometimes when I'm like, I have the allergies, I'm like, oh, I need another hour. I'm like, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep my routine because I know it. I love the side effect of feeling good.
Yeah, that's huge. So, I mean, here's some other things, other tips essentially for your adrenal health. Think about mixing up your exercise, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna crush, the spin classes every day, you're gonna start to burn yourself out, right?
Yeah, and your body gets used to it. So you just need to trick the body. Less is more. Yeah. And just tricking it. Our bodies want to survive on this planet, so it adapts to everything, and it adapts quite quick. So. Like if you're doing resistance training, maybe it's the same exercise but a different tempo, different speed.
Yeah.
That could be enough to just trick it.
Totally.
Going for walks all the time, just try maybe walking uphill now a little bit. Just like something little, and then your body will have to go through a new struggle, and it'll have to adapt.
Totally. And then throw in yoga there. Yoga is so much about breath and movement and lymphatics with your breath, with stretching and flexibility. And so again, finding a way to work in these different strategies through your week is super important. And now on the biochemical side, we talked about some tools for allergies and how to support your immune system, but then we also have to talk about adrenal health. So if you are, winding yourself up with coffee in the morning, crushing the wine at nighttime to wind yourself down or to calm yourself down, that strategy is only going to work for a little while, right? Yeah. So we're going to start to need some therapeutic support for the adrenal system, and that could be something like meditation, could be something like red light therapy or Beamer, the adrenal light, some of the other biohacking tools, and it could also be some of the yoga meditation, but then there's some great adrenal herbs. Yeah. So we like to look at astragalus. Astragalus is an amazing immune and adrenal herb. There's rhodiola, which is great, a little bit more for the mind and adrenal system. There's things like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb that's It's, I think, how it translates as something, or the energy of it is something like the strength of 1,000 horses. And so there's a virility and like an adrenal repair component to some of these things, which can be really helpful for, you know, when looking at someone who's chronically in that state of stress.
Yeah, and they're good to try. Like every year I try just a little bit, because even though I preach health, yes, I do push myself to the limits a lot.
You do?
Yeah. So, but I like trying things out, and usually I know a burnout's coming on, so I'll get those, and it does feel like magic within less than a month.
Yeah.
Usually actually a couple of weeks for me, and I know it should take longer. I feel way better. You just cut back on the caffeine, have that, and I'm like, oh wow, great, I feel amazing, I can do it another year again.
Ready for more.
Yeah.
Well, that's the idea. It's like listening to your body, tuning in, giving it time to adapt, right? It's not all going to happen all at once, and not everything's a magic bullet. But, you know, there's definitely some great strategies to support. You know, and when what we do in the clinic here in a more of an acute kind of crisis, we'll do some high-dose IV vitamin C or some other amino acid type IV therapy to really boost and bolster that response. And that's going to be a much quicker turnaround time. And, you know, it's not that that's the only thing you do, right? So let's talk a little bit more about recovery. So IV therapy, obviously there's some great biohacking tools, but what are some other things that you would suggest people, especially in the world of movement and lifestyle strategies?
Well, so you already kind of mentioned it, but it'd be like breath work, actually just paying attention to your breath work, or meditation, or just listening to your body. Again, it could be, just, again, I'm going to say walking, because everybody's capable of it.
Totally.
Like you could be walking and meditating a little bit, like reflecting on who you are and everything, reflecting on the beauty of everything, being grateful. A gratefulness journal is super good, because also with the other activities that you're doing, or your allergies, or whatever's happening, you can reflect and be like, okay, when I did this, I felt amazing. When I did this, my gratefulness statements weren't as grateful. So then maybe I won't do these things anymore.
I love that you said that, because it's bringing objectivity to our subjective nature, right? Like if we actually track that data, we can go back and look.
Yeah, and there's lots of smart devices that can do it for you, but it's I find I've done both, and I find it works better if you write it down. But if you're like, I don't have time for that, because lots of people don't have time, then get a smart device that will assist you with it. You and I tried a few different ones, and it can tell you as simple as like what your recovery is like every morning, and be like, okay, well, I noticed when I had, like, say, a glass of wine before bed, my recovery was significantly down, even though I felt still good the next morning. And it's not like I binge drank. It's just one simple glass of wine. And I'm not saying don't drink as much, but but I noticed the recovery was down, so much so that, like, if I wanted 5 days a week workouts, I could only do 4, or should only do 4, because the other one would be not necessarily a garbage workout, but I'd be wasting my time, because my recovery would significantly drop past the point where I need a lot of rest.
Oh man, that's so true. I mean, that's one of the tools we use is the Aura Ring, and it looks at your recovery index on a daily basis. And so, if you're how you went to sleep, you know, did you eat too much food before bed, maybe a bit of alcohol before bed, something affected maybe your deep sleep quality or your REM sleep quality. And that plus your activity from the previous days determine your recovery index based on this particular technology. And it's a really helpful tool, because if you're waking up with a very poor recovery index, it's not the day to crush as hard as you can at the gym, because you're more likely for injury, you're more likely for burnout, you're more likely to start getting some of those reciprocating symptoms of allergies or what have you, right? So I love how much you really help people focus on recovery. And another one, I mean, is posture, right?
Yeah.
You talk a ton about posture. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a super easy one that everybody hopefully is working on, is perfecting their posture. And posture doesn't necessarily mean like the old school way of just sit up straight like this, because now I'm putting a lot of strain on my back. Like a quick tip, even just for sitting, if you find the bottom of your ribs and then find your hip bones, hopefully they're just lined up and stacked on top of themselves. And it might look like you're actually slouching, but this would actually be proper core strength, versus this is lower back strength, putting a ton of strain, and then you can't breathe as efficiently. So like most people, when I look at them, they're actually breathing through their chest. So like if you put a hand on your chest and on your stomach, if your hand is moving here, you're breathing through chest, which is more often fight or flight, stressing you out. If you can, try to breathe through the lower core down here and out through the sides eventually one day, and then one day even at the back. Like when I breathe, if I take really and long breaths right before my workout, I can actually kind of stretch out my spine just by the breath. Yeah. And then I can, when I have that canister filled up with air, then I can even realign my neck and pull it into line and kind of stretch it up tall, and I can hear everything throughout my spine go pop, 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 as I'm straightening it. Yeah. So it's not about cheating the system. Like most people are just like trying to cheat it. But just know optimal posture and ask us for advice, because you can breathe a little bit better. Think about how many breaths you take. Are half of them stress breaths? Yeah.
Man, that's reality. Most of them are. You know, when as you're going through that process, this is something I often tell patients, is that you can either operate your nervous system like a dial-up modem, or you could be like the super cable fibers that you know, and really that happens with that proper posture and the cerebral spinal fluid flow and the spinal columning and basically the electrical output. You don't get that kink in those wires, and you're getting proper fluidity. And I know the same thing every morning when I do my yoga practice. I'm sitting there, I'm doing my morning breath, and pop, 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 I get the same thing.
Yeah, and it's such a good feeling, knowing that also you're in full control of your body. Totally. If you feel something out of whack, you're like, okay, well, am I hunched weird? Did I sleep funny? Probably. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, let's see if I can fix it on my own. If you can, most of the time, you probably could. And then you still, like, I still see other professionals. I still see my chiro, physio, everybody, because I want to be, like, super optimal. So even they say you don't need to come back as much as that. But I want to be, like, flawless the time I'm 90. Totally. So I'm a work in progress.
And that's the whole momentum of longevity, too. It's right. It's not about even how long we live, but it's really about the quality of life in those years, right?
I want to act and feel the same 90 that I feel today.
Totally. And we're going to keep doing these videos until we're 90.
We will, and you'll see. You'll see.
Same conversation. Yeah, pop out of bed in the morning and greet the day, and it's amazing.
You and I probably for sure have role models out in life that are 90 right now, or getting close to 90, or even 100, and we're just blown away about how well they're doing mentally and physically, and we're like, it is possible. It reassures that everything we're doing is possible. And yes, there are certain things that could happen in life, unforeseen or genetic, but I guarantee if you're trying to work on yourself, those outcomes will be slightly better than if you didn't work on yourself.
Totally.
Right?
That's why I keep bringing it back to, cellular environments. Like, how are you feeding that cellular network within the body? And are you feeding with good movement, with good nutrition, with good sleep, with good breath, with good posture? Like, we can break down all these things, and for those of you listening, maybe you're listening to that list and you're like, shoot, I'm not doing any of those. Yeah. You just pick one. Yeah. Right? Start there, make that your goal for this next week or month or couple weeks, and then you start chipping away at the next thing. Yeah,
it's baby steps. It's not, you don't have to do all or nothing. Actually, all or nothing could be more harmful, especially if you don't know all the steps to take and you're just doing guessing. Yeah. And as long as it's at least 80% healthy that you're doing, the body can still filter. Look at, you're surviving right now. Yeah. And it's probably lots of unhealthy things that are happening. Even I do unhealthy things too. Like, don't tell this guy I eat a lot of cookies. But it's not 80% cookies. It's 20% cookies. Totally.
It's the 80-20 rule. It works.
But I know when I do have them too, like, I do feel more mucus, I do feel inflammation, my allergies do get instantly worse, my sleep is worse. My wife is waking me up because I'm now snoring at night. So, but I'm mindful those things happen, and sometimes have those decisions where I make those.
And you course correct, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's there. It's like I need to get back on track. Yeah. So that's what it's all about. So. All right, so, lots of great information here. I love getting together with you and sharing all these tips. We're going to do this at least once a month. Yeah, right? So leave us your comments, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. The common questions we'll obviously answer first, or if there's something kind of emergency we feel we need to answer. Yeah, we'll jump on. But basically we're here to create happier and healthier versions of yourselves. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, this comes back down to cellular fitness, right? So merging these two worlds together, because they're so intimately connected, and giving amazing information that we adopt on our own, lifestyle plans, and our hope is obviously you guys do the same. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Everybody. We'll see you next time, buddy. Yep. Yeah.